Hi there, Jesse here with eTrailer. Today we'll be taking a look at and I'll show you how to install the Roadmaster Rear Anti-Sway Bar on this 2020 Jayco Melbourne. If you've ever been in your Sprinter van on the highway on a road trip and felt a large gust of wind or maybe just a tractor trailer flying by, you'll feel the rear end of your Sprinter kind of pull you off to the side and sway back and forth. It's really not fun. It can be scary at times. Our neighbor today is planning on towing a small vehicle behind this, and he's already felt the effects of that. So Roadmaster's here to help prevent that and make it more relaxing as you're tripping down to the campsite and getting set up. Our neighbor has actually already installed a few aftermarket components to try to prevent that body roll, but they aren't quite satisfied yet. So I really think this Roadmaster kit will help them be more comfortable out there when they're on the road. So let's take a closer look. We'll pull this into the shop, get it up on the lift, and we'll look at everything under the vehicle. So here's where your factory sway bar is located. As I said before, we're not replacing the factory sway bar, we're just supplementing it with the Roadmaster. Our neighbor already has upgraded their factory one to this Hellwig sway bar, and they also supplemented that with some sumo springs here. And they're still not happy with the sway of the motorhome, so that's where the Roadmaster will hopefully help that out a bit. So here's our Roadmaster sway bar. As you can see here, it mounts right in front of our rear axle. The links connect up here, right by the front of our leaf spring. That's really nice because it's still close to our rear end. It's really close, butting up against it, and that's where all of that sway and body roll is going to happen. So it's really nice to have a nice link between both sides of the vehicle in a different location than the factory sway bar. Our first step of our installation will be to remove our factory U-bolt from the front side of the axle. We'll do this on both sides to replace them with these longer U-bolts in our kit. So we'll just take a 19mm socket and make sure you have a deep socket so you can engage the nut. And that old U-bolt should just kind of wiggle out. Then we'll take our new one and slide it right into place where that one was. Make sure you get it on that slot on top of the leaf spring. And get that down there. Then we'll take our bracket. These are side specific, so make sure you have, right now we're working on the left side or the driver's side, and it has an LH there. Then you'll notice these little flanged holes here. That's going to be what our factory nuts engage. So that's going to be the bottom. It's going to be mounted like this. Get that. Just kind of push this brake line out of the way. Make sure you're not putting too much stress on it. And we'll reinstall those factory nuts. Now we need to get our frame brackets at least ready to be mounted. We will have to drill some holes. So you're going to mount here on the boxed out portion of the frame for the leaf spring. And so just kind of hold it up there. Make sure you can get at least one of these holes drilled out, which we have plenty of room for. But to make sure that it's sitting flush, we'll have to cut this little section of caulk out. So just take a razor blade or a pocket knife to it and just get that out of your way for now. So I've cut that caulk out of our way so we can make sure we sit flush. Now we'll lift our bracket up into place and take a clamp. We'll put this so that we can hold our bracket into place and use that as a template for drilling. So I'll use this inside hole. We have more metal to work with there. Take a center punch and punch as close to center as you can. and one more on the top. Now I'll take a small drill bit just to drill out a pilot hole, and then we'll end up stepping it up to a 1/2-inch drill bit. For the top hole, I'm actually going to leave this bracket in place just to use it as a guide for this forward hole here. I'll have to take it down just because this part of the bracket will be in my way. But like I said, I'm just going to drill a pilot hole. We'll step it up to a 1/2 inch. Now we'll hold our bracket up, take the shorter bolts in your kit and the smaller washers, slide them through that hole you just drilled out, put another washer on the other side, and cap it off with a locking nut. And same thing for that top hole. So I was having issues on this side with this top bolt. What I ended up doing was tightening this one down, and that brought our bracket up nice and snug, and I was able to get our bolt installed. So now I just have a 19mm wrench and a socket, or a wrench on top and a socket on the bottom, and I'll tighten those down. And then we'll come back through with a torque wrench and torque them down to the specification listed in the instructions. If you don't own your own torque wrench, we do have some available here at eTrailer, or you could always rent one from your local auto parts store. I'll just get these torqued down and then repeat the whole process on the other side. Now we'll take our sway bar bushings and our sway bar and the tub of grease included in our kit. Take quite a bit of that. We'll be greasing the inside of these bushings here. Just get them nice and covered. Might want to put a pair of gloves on, but my hands are already pretty dirty at this point, so just get that nice and greased up. And once you have enough on there, we'll just simply slip this over our sway bar. So it has a split in it. It's just going to go right over there. And you don't have to be exactly lined up for now. We do have the ability to move these around. So let's do that with the other one. And we're ready to take this over to the vehicle. It's just a couple things we need to do to get ready to bring our sway bar over. This bracket here is going to be on our way. We're not going to remove it. We're just going to loosen it up. Just going to loosen it up to the point that we can rotate it out of our way. Just leave this nut on so we don't lose it. Pull out. Now we're able to kind of move that around. Also, there is a bracket here that I'd recommend taking down. It's only going to be in our way once we get the sway bar up here, and the sway bar is pretty heavy, so really, it's easy enough to remove with two 10mm nuts. Get those nuts removed, and then that bracket should come out of our way. Now you see we have a lot of play with this, so we can manipulate it as we're carrying the sway bar over. Now we're going to lift our sway bar into position. We're going to ride over all these brake lines. That's why we took that bracket down, over the drive shaft and kind of under the exhaust. So just kind of lift it up over and rotate. It's just gonna have to take some manipulating to get everything to ride over. These bushings, if they fall off, we can just put them back on later, so it's no big deal. once we have it like this, we can just leave it in place for now and grab our brackets. Now we'll take our bracket and our hardware, just the shorter bolts with washers again. Just kind of lift it up into place. We don't have to be dead center quite yet. Just enough so that we can get it to hold itself in place. What I'll do is get just the top bolt on both sides started for now. And we'll leave those loose for now. Now for our end links, we do have 3 options as far as mounting this. So what I like to do is I usually start in the middle and I'll kind of just line that up, eyeball it. What we're looking for is for this to be as level as possible and also make sure it's not interfering with anything. So get it up there, look around. I think our middle hole is our best bet with this setup. So I'll take our bolt, slide it through there, take our other bolt, and get that slid through, and then we can top that off with some washers and nuts. Now we can tighten them all down with a 19mm socket and a wrench. All that's left is to torque down our hardware to the specification listed in the instruction and hang our brackets back up. And that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the Roadmaster Rear Anti-Sway Bar on our 2020 Jayco Melbourne.